Go. All right. Welcome as we've come from major blues into rhythm changes and now are turning the corner into minor blues. Just wanted to check in, see if anybody had any questions, any comments or anything before we dive into this week's materials, this month's materials. All right. This is a very introverted crowd. I like it. Um, all right. Well, no questions. I'll just assume that you've got a beautiful handle on all this and are getting ready to make a jazz album probably sooner than later. Um, well, let's head over to the. Oh, and I also want to let's see. Oh, there's John. There's John with his rich blue wall back there. I love that. Um, just before I forget, and now I wanted to. I almost know. Well, now he's gone. But oh, there he is. He's over there. John, I expect you'll do an open mic thing today. Are we good? um, I just wanted to get a sense of how many people wanted to play today for our open mic. Daryl, yeah, okay, awesome.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about it as much as play, if that's okay. You
Well, it
just want
depends on how
to,
long you're going to play, if we're going to talk about it as much.
I'd probably play 30 seconds and talk five
Okay.
minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We'll save that for the end, though. Okay. Cool. Good to know. All right. Well, let me see. Hold on. Um, yes, I got a question coming in. Will recordings be permanently available? Yeah. Well, at least a year. You've got a year to watch and glean from these videos that are um, posted on the site, and we'll figure out. I haven't figured out exactly where all this is going to go after that. All right, well, let's jump in to minor blues and C minor blues, scale and chords. Just kind of a couple of pages with a first position minor blues scale. And we've also got six possible one chords and a few four chords and three five chords and three flat six or flat or sharp five chords, along with a progression. So I'm just going to kind of go through this and we can kind of play it. And is this new information to anybody? This scale? The C, oftentimes it's just called the blues scale, though I like to have the context of the major or the minor on it. Um, the open C, E flat on the third fret, F on the first fret, G flat on the second, and G on the third, B flat on the first fret, C on the first fret. I like to move my first finger there and then play that E flat with my fourth finger. And if this were an acid rock class, you would find that that's right in that wheelhouse of that minor blues sound. And the minor blues scale has a one, a flat third, the one, flat third, four, flat five, five, flat seven, and the one.
I will
Uh,
never forget that scale again.
there you go.
You just did it.
Okay, good.
You're giving
Yeah,
a
and
little Jimi
it's
Hendrix.
yeah, yeah. Eric Clapton and Cream. Yeah, Sunshine of Your Love. Yeah, it's so great to attach these things to something you already know. Um, I think there were a lot of guitar players in the '60s. This is the main thing that they knew. So much music comes from this. I want to just walk you through some various choices you could have, and there would be many others for a one chord, which would be C minor. And in this case, we got like, here we go. Um, One way you could play C minor, 0, 3, 3, 3. Might bar there if you liked using those fingers, you could use those. If you like these fingers, you could use those depending on where you're going. But it's going to be G, E flat, G, and C in that chord. Now I could also add my third finger to the fifth fret and keep that bar. That's another way to make a C minor. In a minor blues context, in a jazz context, um, more often than not, you would find the chords to begin with four note chords. So this is a three note chord. It's got a C, an E flat, and a G. It just doubles the C. If I turn this low C to a B flat, we can now call that a C minor 7. And that gets us a little more in the jazz world. And we've got a B flat, E flat, G, and C in the chord. A little richer sounding. Now, if I go up here, and we've seen this shape many a time, this 5, 7, 6, 6. It can be a tricky one to wrangle. I like to start with my first finger on the 5th fret of the low G string, adding my second finger to this B flat on the 6th string, third finger the E flat, and then getting my pinky down. Essential jazz shape. Same chord as this one, but just so sweet. It's got the minor third on the top and the one on the bottom. Just really sings in a nice way. Another possibility would be a minor 9, and the one I have here would be 5th fret barring on the 3rd, and that has a bit of mystery, a little bit of a James Bond kind of sound to it, and a new to me voicing of this that I love that has a cool feel to it. This B flat D G C version that doesn't have the third in it, but it could. This has a nice feel, and we'll get to use it a little bit later today in a tune. Anything that has an uppercase C and a lowercase m in the chord world could be fair game with this, just depending on the song and the feel. All of those could be used for the one chord in just a basic blues, which we'll get to in a second. Then we go to the 4 chord, and this one's always interesting kind of handful. It's like the diminished chords that we've had, like that A diminished 7, 2, 3, 2, 3, except I just have to kind of accordion this outwards and get 1, 3, 1, 3, and that's an F minor 7 in the first position there. And I could slide up and play 5, 5, 4, 3 and have just a regular old F minor. And I could kind of wrangle around, keep those 5, 5, 4, 6 with my pinky on that E flat up there, which is the flat 7 of this chord. And I've got an F minor 7. Nice voicing. And then if I needed a higher voicing and might want the 1 on top, the F, I could go 8, 8, 8, 8. And there's another way to play an F minor 7. Highly encourage you just to kind of try these once you get the progression under your fingers and see what you like. We've also got the 5 chord, G7, a dominant 5 chord. And that's one of the things about the kind of jazz blues likes that dominant chord rather than like a G minor, rather than the sound of C minor, F minor, G minor, C minor. It's a more little extra tension there. G7 there, or another dandy G7 of 4, 5, 3, 5. And the G7 flat 9, which I can just flip these 2 fingers, put them both on the 4th fret, and 4, 5, 4, 5. Same shape as a diminished, and we're going to call this one a G7 flat 9. A being the 9, A flat being the flat 9, and we're keeping the B, the F, and the D there. So we don't have a G in this chord, but it's going to function as a 5 chord in this context. And this is used probably more than anything I've heard in jazz for a 5 chord. And then we've got the same business here with the A flat, 1, 3, 2, 3, or A flat, E flat, G flat, C. And we could slide that one up 1 fret from where we were on the G7, and we got an A flat 7. 5, 6, 4, 6. And then again, do the same thing and flip those fingers, and we've got the A flat 7, flat 9. Any questions with all those chords, all the possibilities there? Any finger yoga? Nope. Okay. Now we'll get to this progression, and just want to start off with a basic overview. And one thing that you wouldn't normally hear in a blues is, in the jazz world, would be like a 4/4 feel. It would be more like a 12/8 feel. 1, 2, 3, 4, like triplets. So if it and most drummers are counting all shuffle blues and that kind of thing in 12/8. It's the other instruments, and for like a sheet like this, you don't want to see this in 12/8. You just need, that's the 1 chord. But if you're feeling it in 4, like 1, 2, 3, 4, it could be like, when does this turn into jazz, Or if you're just playing that whole note. But this is the outline of what's happening here. And this blues usually, this is the most common turnaround I've seen, is the 1, 4, 1, 5. Let's try playing through it together at a safe and sane tempo. 1, and we just play whole notes. 3, 4, C minor, F minor, fits nicely over that, C minor, C minor, C minor, F minor. If you can make it, do the F minor 7. If not, you could just play F minor twice, C minor. And we've got this A flat 7. Slide it down to G7. Then our 1 4 1 5. I'm sorry, I got a Virginia saying you're only hearing my voice. You're not hearing the ukulele. Is that what you're saying? Huh. No one's hearing the uke? Yeah, you are hearing it.
No,
Oh,
we're hearing you.
I can hear it.
Okay. Then that's all there is. My voice in the uke. I'll play louder. So I want to do that same thing, and except I want to change one thing in your brain. And triplet feel. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Getting used to subdividing that a little bit smaller. 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So once your fingers get familiar with this, we want to start tweaking what you're hearing in your brain. And different kinds of feels, different songs, and we're going to find that there are a lot of minor key jazz blues tunes in C minor. And we'll get into that world. Any questions? All right. Questionless. I love it. From there, so I would just suggest, if for some of you, you may have a keen awareness of this is the shape of minor blues or the prime shape. It doesn't mean every song will be exactly this form, but it's definitely the template. I want to arm you with 4 ways of playing this scale. And the first one, looked at already, the first position. With a little slide up there. And if a person wanted to include the B flat and the G, they could. I like to keep it clean and have at least one of these or 2 of these starting on C if possible. But these notes would be fair game, as we'll see soon. Then I'm going to slide my hand up to the 3rd position, where I've got kind of the prime guitar version of this, really, where I've got the C, and then 1st finger, 3rd finger, 4th finger, 1st finger, 4th. Oh, I was going to the next shape in my head. You can check yourself and see if I'm playing this with the fleshy part of my finger. here versus the fingertip be a very different. And sometimes I know people haven't learned how to start to go toward the right angle of getting that fingertip, but can also help if you're having the problem of your hand being feeling like you're reaching a long way, that bending your fingers will get you closer to the action here. Great form, really easy to use, really flows, and it just one to memorize, I would say. From there, I'm going to slide all the way to the 5th position, and then this one gets a little different. So I've got 5th fret with the first finger, 8th fret with my pinky, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and then I jump over to the B flat with my 2nd, C with my 2nd, E flat, and F. Committing some of these to memory will be really helpful. Playing different rhythms, so at first it's great to just play this metronomically in quarter tones, you know, but eventually you might want to kind of mix it up and see, there's like little riffs, little things you can do with this. If you play it too much in just straight quarter notes, if you're trying to improvise, you're gonna fall back on what you know, and this is probably not gonna work just playing the scale in order that way. And we'll get more into that. So that 5th position is really cool, and then this last one, I forgot to put the number on here, but it's the 8th position, and I keep my first finger in the 8th on the 8th fret the whole time, but that means that I'm playing this F there with my 3rd finger on the 10th fret, 11th and 12th with the pinky. But these frets are so close together. And this one's an interesting one. So I've got 8th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 10th with the 3rd finger. Then I change strings to the 8th with my 1st finger, 11, 8, 9, 10. One of those people that needs closure, just go down to the 5th fret or play the open C at the end of that. This is a great little technique here. I'll kind of get in where 1st finger, 3rd finger, 4th. It's really not much of a reach, but if I move my 1st finger and slide my hand, then I'm kind of lost as to where my next position is. So my 1st finger stays at the 8th fret, and I just stretch out, and I know I'm at the 10th, 8th, 11th, 8th, 9th, 10th. It feels kind of good to stretch these fingers, play, you know, two frets with the same finger. So that gives us 4 positions to play the scale, and we can experiment around with this. But as always, any questions with the scales? All right, let's keep on trucking, and I want to show you this little C minor blues practice I put together. And on this one, Virginia, you should be hearing everything. I'll play it for you and do a little screen share. Okay, they keep moving all this stuff around. Okay, here we go. That doesn't look like that worked. Here we go. Did that work? Yeah. Boy, they've changed. They've changed how this is. Okay. I'll display this. This is 77, nice and slow. Like I said, you could use any of those chords, but here's what we've got going here. Just notice the drums have that triplet or 12/8 feel. I kept it in 4/4, but it's a 12/8 kind of drum part with the triplets. And this drum fills usually act as kind of transitions, and so this gives you a chance to make up your own riffs, practice chords, kind of play around with it. When this comes back around, I'm going to take some approaches of playing that scale. And I'm going to first start playing quarter notes, all the notes of the scale. And I could just keep playing that, and this is probably a really valuable way to practice the scale. But I'm not really improvising yet, and so I want to turn it into phrases. And to do that, I'm going to try to group it into little subsets of notes, and I'm not going to start on beat 1, I'll start on 2. 1. Then I'm going to try to swing Sunshine of Your Love and see what happens. I don't know. Tons of things you can do, but this is a way to either just practice the scale, work on taking 4 notes out of it, improvising, playing around with it, and also this little solo I put together doesn't exactly conform to the shapes I gave you. So it can, it's kind of in between shapes here. It gives you some ideas of phrasing. Also, again, starting on beat 2. Little slides. Some triplets. double stops, kind of cool. Back to our old tricks. And you can put in something in there after it. This little solo is much more on the blues side than the jazz side of things, but just a good way to get started with the notes of the C minor blues scale. Get some music flowing. And of course, you could, you know, on the sound slice file, could substitute some different chord voicings. I could play like these ninths. Really good minor sevens, minor nines. Just a lot, just kind of a little bluesy C minor playground for you. Does that all seem pretty self-explanatory and usable? Yeah. As we go, I think that we could continue to learn some new skills and approaches over the next few months, and we could do many different things with this same track, and that might be kind of a fun route to take. Well, I've blazed through those three things. Any questions with those materials? I know a lot of times people wonder, like, that A flat 7, like, why is that in the key, or what's going on with that? How does and I think I saw Monica kind of shaking her head. Yeah, what's going on with that? And it's an interesting thing to me. Like, when I first discovered this progression, you know, it seemed outside and exotic. You know, it doesn't anymore, and I hear it all the time. I thought it was a rarer progression than it is, but this sound, we know the G7 is the 5, and if I only, and you could hear some blues, minor blues, that would have just that. But it really is a bluesier form, but that creates this tension, but it combines notes of the scale. It's got the C, the G flat, E flat, and then it adds this one note, this out of the blues scale, the A flat. So it has this beautiful tension. And we've had so many minor sounds that it resolves to the tension chord, which brings us back. I remember first seeing this chord and going, how am I going to solo over that, you know? And then just started, you know, finding, oh my God, these notes, you know, I could even just, like, take the one, that flat 6 and the 5, and kind of solo, you know, it's just let me get those out of there. Here's the A flat. You can almost do no wrong with those notes, but the harmony makes what you're playing sound different than it sounded over the one chord and over the four chord, or how and it sets up the five chord. And as it's just how the progression goes. Where it came from, I don't know. I'm sure there's someone out there that has some answer, but um, I haven't hardly listened to any ragtime music, but it's certainly the minor blues is just a common sound, and it's a sound that you would hear in I think kind of church-based music from the past 120 years or so. But a song that when I first put this together, I'm a big soul music fan. I'm trying to remember what key this is. What key this is in? I think it's in A flat. Can I play A flat minor? I'll just do it in. I'll do it in C minor. Why not? So that's where we're at. That Al Green song, "Love and Happiness." Sharp 5, 5, 1. Amy Winehouse, you'll hear this all over the place. But and if it was in a more like a old school 20s style kind of blues thing, you would hear, I think, Minnie the Moocher and good Lord, my brain. It'll come to me. St. James Infirmary would be songs that have that flat 6, sharp 5, 5 kind of thing. But there's many, many more. And it's just also possible to kind of put this over the superimpose the blues that we started with, of like, they have C7, F7, C7, C7. We're turning that into C minor, F minor, C minor, C minor. The letters are staying the same. And then F7, F7, C7, C7 turns into F minor, C minor, C minor. Where it changes from that 5, 4, 1, 5 is that flat 5. Gives us a nice resolution into the minor. As that circles around. Something else that is really cool, and I should have, give me a second here. I think this would be well worth exploring for a second. I love it when these ideas come to me and I realize I'm completely ill-prepared to execute this idea technologically here. But hang on, don't leave. So I'll take like this Blue Monk 2, that we looked at way back when, but with like 13th chords and this walking bass line. And, it's an extension with substitutions, from C7, F7, and G7. And then we've added these 2, 5, 1s and all of this. Now, and we looked at kind of how that major blues scale could work over this. Now, this is pretty much, for the most part, a one-way road. The minor can work over the major or the minor. The major works pretty much just over the major. So I want to just experiment with playing this minor over the could go on all day long, but it's the kind of thing, believe it or not, one of the greatest jazz blues pianists lived in my hometown of Boise, Idaho. A guy named Gene Harris, kind of a soul jazz blues guy. And so so many times he would start these kind of things. Unbelievable piano player, just play with bass player and drums, or just play solo all the time. But would often start and end with that kind of sound, that kind of minor thing. Sounds great. All the triplets sound awesome on a piano, but they work great on a uke too. But then would maybe go major on the second solo. And then the third solo, it just could go more bebop and all over the place and kind of follow the changes. But notice that I didn't play one note that wasn't C, E flat, F, G flat, G, or B flat. And there's nowhere where it's like I'm playing a G flat against an E minor. Somehow that seems to work. And there's a lot of music there. I encourage you to explore it and experience it. These notes will lead you to different rhythms and different phrases. And so that we could even, I could even take Blue Monk, and there's some nice spots for fills in that. So I'll show you what I'll just play a phrase to see where I end up and put in a minor blues fill. Easier said than done. All kinds of possibilities. Okay, I'm gonna make like one of the boldest statements I've ever made. This seems like I'm gonna conjure the spirit of someone like Jim DeVille with a statement like this: There's two kinds of people. There are major key people and there are minor key people. I am most certainly was born in a minor key. Um, and I've talked about this every once in a while to folks. And some people are like, oh yeah, I hate major keys. It's not my thing. One thing I'll say about the minors, and so much, I think that sometimes, especially, I can only use this country for a clear example for music education, that improvisation is taught from a major perspective. And I started in minors and stuff, and it's just like so easy. It's hard to go wrong, and you don't want to play a lot of notes in a minor key. You want to just make a little phrase. For some of you, I really encourage you to embrace this and see if it's easier. Um, and I've read and talked to other music educators who are like, we should start with minors, and that it's much easy. If you're trying to think your way through it, it may be harder. But if you allow yourself just to feel and play, try to find 3 or 4 notes that make sense. The emotional um, content of what you're playing is going to be more potent, I think, in a minor scenario. And it can help us tune in to making this connect to an emotion, whether it's just personal for us while we're playing, which is where it has to start, before eventually, if we want to bring this out into the world, other people could feel something from it. But yeah, it's especially if you're like in a plateau or looking to kind of have a breakthrough as a improviser, and it hasn't quite happened yet in the major world. Double down on the minor, and I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Yeah, Marianne, come on down.
So are you saying that the minor blues scale could be played over any major? So let's just say we're in the key of C. So I could play the minor blues scale over any song that's that's in a major C scale, playing chords from the major scale.
Not exactly. So I'm glad you asked. So there's like, if you say, all right, that Coldplay song, it, no. Major blues, you could play the minor blues scale over. And that is with that dominant 7. I almost want to pull up like, uh, you could play it. I mean, you could play it over anything, and it's up to you to decide whether you like it. But let's keep it in blues right now, and that minor. If it has a C, the minor or the major will work over the minor. The minor will work over the major and the minor. There we go. The minor scale will work both. But we're gonna. It also depends on what rhythms you're playing. And so, like, if you were thinking, like, I've got this 1, 4, 5, these notes may impose something, with this rhythm, and then, it's like, how do I get this to work? And if I pick it up, and it's like bluegrass. It's the blue of bluegrass, and it's the minor scale against the major sound a lot of times. Yeah, Marianne. Yeah.
So just to back up a little bit, if we've got a blues song the 1 chord's going to be minor, the 4 chord's going to be minor, and the 5 chord is still going to be a diminished seventh, basically, right?
Dominant, yeah. Dominant seventh.
Dominant seventh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the
Whether
one
it's
and
major
four,
or minor. Yeah.
the 1 and 4 are going to be minor. The 5 is going to be a dominant seventh.
Yeah.
Okay.
For a minor, and we'd call that a minor blues. A major blues, the 1 would be dominant 7, the 4 would be dominant 7, and the 5 would be dominant 7. And that's where that minor is as good a choice as the major for soloing over that, especially if you're just going to play from one scale. Is that make sense? Is that clear for you? Yeah. And then yeah, and you see how like bluegrass is just blues with only the like the chords would be like C, F, and either G or G7. And there'd be no triplets, there'd be no shuffle, and it'd be 16th notes, you know. You know, but it's if I took those same notes, it's the blues scale, the minor blues scale. So yeah, it becomes it, it also yeah, this is cool. What your right hand does then becomes as important, if not more important, than what your left hand does. Because then it's like, oh, what's the rhythm? What's the feel? Those minor chords for me create such a rich harmonic environment that I don't have like a C7 by itself or a C by itself. There's not enough information for me contextually to be like, what's this about? Well, just a C minor, I'm like, I think I get it. I'm in, you know, and can feel and let the harmony kind of, I don't know, it's almost like a blanket, you know, of what the emotional context is. And so I just wanted to, you know, circle back to what we started with and show us another way we could use this. And all of the licks that we've learned, all the tunes that we've learned, I think, like we've talked about, are really modular and can be used that way. But yeah, and man, I just always encourage everyone, you know, some of this stuff can just get hung up on like a fret number, a string number, is minor, is a small m means minor or major, and it could actually slow you down for years, you know. So I encourage you to ask any question here, just and to make sure we get the nomenclature, get it just kind of straight in our heads, because sometimes just like one or two of these little things will really open up a door. Well, it's 7:25. This seems like a great time to take a little 5-minute break, and for the first time, I'm taking it less than an hour into the class. And yeah, is 5 minutes enough for y'all? Awesome. All right, let's say 31 minutes after the hour. I'll see you soon.